Hey there, Flo here with another Bible reading stream. Hey, Alameen. Hope you're doing good. All right, so let's see. I'm going to probably keep it kind of short tonight. Pretty tired and probably yawn a lot, so just apologies in advance in case that's the way it goes. But yeah, let's get going. I'm going to pray real quick and then get to today's reading. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for bringing us here again today. Thank you for anybody that might drop by and hear a few words from your word. Pray that you would help me read today, as I'm always struggling with reading. But and I pray that as I read, some of it would be absorbed into my spirit, and that it would produce thought and fruit in me. I pray that your spirit would be present, not just in these times, but always. Help us to be sensitive to your spirit and your presence in our lives and submit to you. Pray for protection on basically everybody, but just I guess anyone that's struggling with sickness or difficulty in life or just the cold, any of that stuff, I pray that you would protect them and provide for them. And yeah, thank you for all these things. In Jesus' name, amen. Leox. Alrighty. So let's get to it. Today's reading is, it's hard to read in this low light, but I like the low light. I'm reading from my screen, by the way, which is probably obvious for people that might have watched before, but I don't have a physical Bible in this version that I'm reading. I'm reading from the WEB, World English Bible, because it's copyright free, so I'm just reading from my screen, which is kind of nice because I don't have to have a bunch of lights on to see the text. Plus, these days I'd have to use reading glasses probably. Anyway, today's reading is Job chapter 32 through 34 and John chapter 2. So not very many chapters, so it kind of makes me think some of these might be long chapters, but we'll see. All right, let's start with Job chapter 32. So these three men ceased to answer Job because he was righteous in his own eyes. Then the wrath of Elihu, the son of Barachel, the Buzite of the family of Ram, was kindled against Job. His wrath was kindled because he justified himself rather than God. Also his wrath was kindled against his three friends, because they had found no answer, and yet had condemned Job. Now, let's see, Elihu had waited to speak to Job, because they were elder than he. When Elihu saw that there was no answer in the mouth of these three men, his wrath was kindled. Elihu, the son of Barachel, the Buzite, answered, I am young, and you are very old. Therefore I held back and didn't dare show you my opinion. I said, days should speak, and multitude of years should teach wisdom. But there is a spirit in man, and the Spirit of the Almighty gives them understanding. It is not the great who are wise, nor the aged who understand justice. Therefore I said, listen to me, I also will show my opinion. Behold, I waited for your words and listened for your reasoning, while you searched out what to say. Yes, I gave you my full attention, but there was no one who convinced Job or who answered his words among you. Beware lest you say, we have found wisdom. God may refute him, not man, for he has not directed his words against me. Neither will I answer him with your speeches. They are amazed, they answer no more. They don't have a word to say. Shall I wait because they don't speak? Because they stand still and answer no more? I also will answer my part, and I also will show my opinion, for I am full of words. The spirit within me constrains me. Behold, my breast is as wine which has no vent. Like new wineskins, it is ready to burst. I will speak that I may be refreshed. I will open my lips and answer. Please don't let me respect any man's person. Neither will I give flattering titles to any man, for I don't know how to give flattering titles, or else my Maker would soon take me away. Oh, I hate to say it, but that was a bunch of gobbledygook. Gobbledygook, for sure. It's like, I don't know, I don't like how he talks. I really don't. Like I already didn't like the three friends who had responded to Job just because they were wrongfully accusing Job. But man, this guy sounds arrogant. Sounds super arrogant. It's funny because he's kind of talking about how, I don't know, he just sounds like a teenager, like he has all the answers, like he's about to tell how you're all wrong and you're all, even though you're old, I know better than you, and just, I don't know. I don't like it. But if I remember right, I think he was not as brash or rash or whatever you want to say, judgmental. We'll find out soon as we read more of his words. But if I remember right, he wasn't as ridiculous in accusing Job of sins that he's not even aware that Job did, just like wild accusations like the other three friends. But maybe he is too, he does that too. But my impression is, I actually did a little bit of research on this guy prior to, well, just kind of in between streams. I don't remember when, like a few days ago. Not a ton of research, but generally speaking, I was curious because I thought I remembered there being 4 friends, but so far there's only been 3, and I thought, wait, isn't there a 4th one? And yes, there is. This is that guy. I don't know if he's considered a friend of Job or he just tagged along with the other 3 guys. I'm not sure. But what I did find out from just a little bit of research is that he's kind of a mysterious figure, that it's not clear exactly who he is. I mean, he at least says stuff about himself, like he gives his father's name and what his nationality is, so that's something. I'm actually kind of curious what a Buzite is. I'm actually curious about any of these nationalities because I've heard it said that these guys existed around, pretty early in human history, but I don't know where they live and if they're related at all to the other people in the Bible. Anyway, I'm curious about that stuff, so I might look that up at some point. But the stuff that talks about Elihu or Elihu or however you say his name, said that it's mysterious because he suddenly appears. He wasn't spoken of earlier in the text, and then near the end, he kind of vanishes. Like he has his say, and then nothing else is spoken of him after that. And if I remember right, when God appears and speaks to the group at the end, he mentions the 3 friends and Job, but I don't think he mentions Elihu. So it's almost like, who is this guy? Why did he appear? And yeah, anyway, But so far, I don't like how he introduces himself. Like he spent like all these words that we just read just talking about how he's gonna like rip Job a new one kind of a thing, or just I don't know, it's just weird. It's not respectful at all. Like I understand his points. Like he's correct that just because people are old doesn't mean they're wise or they have great understanding. I've met some old people that still haven't figured out their life and they're just messing everything up. But then conversely, basically it just some people think that you should be wise because you're older, and that's not necessarily always true. You should always have your wits about you and judge based on the content of someone's saying, and also inspect their life if they're, actually living the things that they say, stuff like that. But at the same time, I think older people are due respect. Like, I know that's kind of an old fashioned idea. I don't know if people these days really think that way anymore. It used to be when I was young, we were always told to respect our elders, just kind of a general saying. And most of our parents from my age, my generation, taught their kids to do that more or less. Not everybody, obviously, but generally speaking. But yeah, it doesn't feel like this dude is very respectful so far, anyway. Yeah, well, anyway, that's kind of my impression. Was there anything else I noticed? It just kind of annoyed me. Like, it's like, oh no, I thought this guy was better than the three friends, and now I'm thinking, like, ew, no, not another one of these guys. It's just funny. I actually write this way sometimes. Like, I write in my journal, and sometimes I'll write about writing. This guy's talking about talking. He hasn't said anything yet. Literally, if you reread Job chapter 32 and analyze what he said, he hasn't said anything at all. He's just talking. He's basically introducing his speech, like in all of these words. Like, I'm about to talk. Let me talk about how I'm about to talk. Oh man, it's funny. And I actually do that when I'm writing in my journal. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, I haven't written in a million years, and here's all the reasons why I haven't written, instead of just writing something. Anyway, I think it's funny, but funny and annoying at the same time. So let's go on to chapter 33. Hopefully it'll be less annoying. Maybe that was the worst part right there. Job chapter 33. However, Job, please hear my speech and listen to all my words. See now, I have opened my mouth. My tongue has spoken in my mouth. Sorry, that was funny. My words will utter the uprightness of my heart. That which my lips know, they will speak sincerely. The Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty gives me life. If you can, answer me. Set your words in order before me and stand up. Behold, I am toward God even as you are. I am also formed out of the clay. Behold, my terror will not make you afraid, neither will my pressure be heavy on you. Surely you have spoken in my hearing. I have heard the voice of your words saying, I am clean, without disobedience. I am innocent, neither is there iniquity in me. Behold, he finds occasions against me. He counts me for his enemy. He puts my feet in the stocks. He marks all my paths. Behold, I will answer you. In this you are not just, for God is greater than man. Why do you strive against him, because he doesn't give account of any of his matters? For God speaks once, yes, twice, though man pays no attention. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls on men, and slumbering on the bed, then he opens the ears of men and seals their instruction, that he may withdraw man from his purpose and hide pride from man. He keeps back his soul from the pit and his life from perishing by the sword. He is chastened also with pain on his bed, with continual strife in his bones, so that his life abhors bread, and his soul dainty food. His flesh is so consumed away that it can't be seen. His bones that were not seen stick out. Yes, his soul draws near to the pit, and his life to the destroyers. If there is beside him an angel, an interpreter, one among 1,000, to show to man what is right for him, then God is gracious to him and says, "Deliver him from going down to the pit. I have found a ransom. His flesh will be fresher than a child's. He returns to the day of his youth. He prays to God, and he is favorable to him, so that he sees his face with joy. He restores to man his righteousness. He sings before men and says, I have sinned and perverted that which is right, and it didn't profit me. He has redeemed my soul from going into the pit. My life will see the light. Behold, God does all these things, twice, yes, 3 times with a man, to bring back his soul from the pit, that he may be enlightened with the light of the living. Mark well, Job, and listen to me. Hold your peace, and I will speak. If you have anything to say, answer me. Speak, for I desire to justify you. If not, listen to me. Hold your peace, and I will teach you wisdom. Okay, let's look at this a bit. I'm interested in what he's saying because I'm trying to figure out the Bible. I think we'll find out when we finish this book, but I don't think the Bible tells us whether what Elihu said is good or rubbish. So we're going to have to decide for ourselves. It's kind of fun in a way. It's like a puzzle. Like, I think it's pretty obvious that the 3 friends that first come to Job are mostly off their rocker. They don't know what they're talking about. They might say a few decent things thrown in, but generally speaking, most of what they have said is just way off. It's totally wrong. And I don't think you would need to read the last chapters of Job to figure that out. I think most people could figure that out on their own. I think most people would read what those friends said and say, these guys are out of line. They're not doing what's right. But this guy, I don't know. And Job too, like I think I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear like a non-Christian or a person that hasn't been in the church read this book and give their opinion on what they think of each character. Like for example, do they think Job is arrogant or he's just, I don't know. It'd be interesting to know what a newcomer would think. And also what they would think of these friends. And Elihu, I don't know what to think about him. But I don't know. This whole book about this exchange of these different conversations, it feels like they're competing, like they're trying to impress each other. They're trying to come out on top. It's exhausting. Like, can you imagine like conversation that always goes that way? Like I do see that in some contexts in the modern world. Like you'll see this in politics, you'll see it sometimes in religion, and I think that's why a lot of people say no religion, no politics on their streams, because they just don't want to get into that argumentative tone. But generally, like most conversations you have with people, especially in the real world, you don't just instantly see them as competition and you want to like defeat them with words or put them down or like make them feel less. Like, oh, you think that's a funny joke? Well, let me say an even funnier one to like make you feel stupid. Like, I don't know. I just feel like that would be exhausting. And I do see that sometimes. And actually, sometimes, I guess a contemporary streaming example is you'll see people trying to outdo each other with jokes, like in chat. Like someone will say something funny, and then the next person will try to outdo that or add to the laughter, kind of a thing. But I think that's more like fun banter. Like it's not like they're trying to, make someone else look bad. They just want to have fun and laugh, basically. And that's a lot of what streaming's about, is entertainment and having fun. And so that's pretty harmless. But I can't imagine just going around like talking to people and constantly trying to outdo each other. And like, oh, that's what this sounds like to me. And it bugs me. It really bugs me. I love that though. My tongue has spoken in my mouth. It's like, see now, I have opened my mouth. My tongue has spoken in my mouth. And I feel like he should have said, as my tongue was flapping up and down, I was pushing air through my vocal cords, which the vibrations in the air traveled through the air to your ears, and your brain interpreted those vibrations as sounds. And also, I mean, computers haven't been invented yet, so I can't make that analogy, but your brain is like interpreting those vibrations into words and sentences and deriving meaning. It's just like, ooh. Okay. Let's see, what else did I have? And I'm not trying to make fun of this or anything. And I'm definitely not mocking the Bible. I'm more like making fun of this, how this person is like, what are they trying to say? I feel like I understand this chapter better than the last one, though. The first one, let me see if I can. I'm kind of curious also what other versions of the Bible, other translations, how they would read, because some of these sentences are like really unclear. Let me see if I can find one. And I do not. Part of it's my reading comprehension is bad, but I think some verses are just not translated clearly in some versions because they're trying to do more faithful word for word interpretations rather than capturing the idea. So I bet some of this would read a lot better in the NIV, for example. Like it would be more clear to understand. I just trying to skim over this real quick. This is like this verse 4, this transition between 14 between 13 and 14 is kind of odd. Beware lest you say we have found wisdom. That I can understand what that's saying. But then God may refute him, not man. It's like, what? What does that even mean? Like, him is man. Like, God may refute him being a man, but comma, not man. God may refute him, not man. It's like, what? For he has not directed his words against me. Like, who hasn't? God or some arbitrary man? Like, that is this right here is extremely confusing. Like, I know, like, when I was in English school, or just going to grade school and high school and all that stuff, they emphasize try to make your pronouns very clear, like reference a noun. Otherwise it gets confusing who is who in the story, kind of a thing. This is not clear. God may refute him, not man, for he has not directed his words against me. Neither will I answer him with your speeches. It's like, what? Well, who is this him talking about? Neither will I answer him with your speeches. Who's him? Is that God or? Oh my, that's very confusing. And then they are amazed. They answer no more. Who are they? I'm guessing they are the three friends, but yeah, I cannot understand what this is talking about. Honestly, I'm just being perfectly honest. I think I'd have to read it in another translation to see if it's a little clearer. They don't have a word to say. Shall I wait? So I think the they is the three friends. Like they stopped talking, like it said in the early part of the chapter, because they saw that Job was self-righteous or whatever. But yeah, the way that this guy writes is kind of frustrating. However, there's a few things that I like about him. Let's see if I can find those parts again. Oh, one of the things that I mentioned earlier in one of the streams recently is that it seemed like Job's three friends don't even listen to what Job is saying, and they have preconceived or packaged rebuttals. Actually, rebuttals suggest that it's a response. It's almost like they have prepackaged monologues, and they don't adjust what they're going to say based on what they heard Job say. They just like say a thing that doesn't even sound like a response to what he was saying. Whereas it seems like Elihu actually is responding. He's maybe the first one that actually heard what was said, and his words sound like a response. For example, he actually does something that's a really good habit. Like, I learned this a long time ago. I don't always do it because it sometimes can be annoying, but there's this strategy of communication where you repeat some of the things that somebody said back when you're responding, so it's clear that you were listening. Like, you don't want to repeat everything they said because that just gets annoying. But Elihu did that a little bit. Let's see if I can find it. I think it was in the chapter 33. Oh yeah, see, so verse 8 said, "Surely you have spoken in my hearing. I have heard the voice of your words, saying, I am clean without disobedience. I am innocent, neither is there iniquity in me. Behold, he finds occasion against me. He counts me for his enemy. He puts my feet in the stocks. He marks all my paths." I feel like that proves that Elihu was actually listening to what Job said, because Job, he's kind of paraphrasing, but Job did basically say those things, and I don't think that Elihu is being unfair or misrepresenting Job by kind of quoting him in a paraphrase. I think that's cool that he does that. That shows that he's actually listening and not just preparing an annoying speech. I feel like the other thing, I don't know what this means. I'd like to read this in another version to see what this means, but like in verse 32, it says, "Speak, for I desire to justify you." The way that reads to me in English, I don't know how it reads in the original language, but that doesn't sound like a bad thing. Like, justify sounds like you're trying to make right, like you're trying to help in a positive way. Otherwise, he would have said, judge, like, "Speak, for I desire to judge you," or to rip apart your words, So, I don't know, hopefully that communicates good intentions. However, I don't really like this verse. I mean, I don't like that. That sounds super arrogant. "Hold your peace, and I will teach you wisdom." Oh dear. This guy, I feel like this guy is pretty arrogant. Because even if you were super wise, like really wise for your age, like you're a young person, but you feel like you know better than old people. First of all, even thinking that shows error, in my opinion. Like, a truly humble person would not think so highly of themselves. They could share wisdom without comparing themselves to others or saying, "I am superior to you." You old guys had your time. Now let me show you a better way, is essentially what this guy is saying. And that's pretty arrogant, but whatever. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's see what... I think he's probably going to have some good stuff to say. It's just I don't think his delivery is that great, but just keep going here. Job chapter 34. Moreover, Elihu answered, Hear my words, you wise men. Give ear to me, you who have knowledge. For the ear tries words, as the palate tastes food. Let us choose for us that which is right. Let us know among ourselves what is good. For Job has said, I am righteous. God has taken away my right. Notwithstanding my right, I am considered a liar. My wound is incurable, though I am without disobedience. What man is like Job, who drinks scorn like water, who goes in company with the workers of iniquity, and walks with wicked men? For he has said, It profits a man nothing, that he should delight himself with God. Therefore listen to me, you men of understanding. Far be it from God that he should do wickedness, from the Almighty that he should commit iniquity. For the work of a man he will render to him, and cause every man to find according to his ways. Yes, surely God will not do wickedly, neither will the Almighty pervert justice. Who put him in charge of the earth? Or who has appointed him over the whole world? If he set his heart on himself, if he gathered to himself his spirit and his breath, all flesh would perish together, and man would turn again to dust. If now you have understanding, hear this. Listen to the voice of my words. Should even one who hates justice govern? Will you condemn him who is righteous and mighty? Who says to a king, vile, or to nobles, wicked? He doesn't respect the persons of princes, nor respect the rich more than the poor, for they are all the work of his hands. In a moment they die, even at midnight. The people are shaken and pass away. The mighty are taken away without a hand. For his eyes are on the ways of a man. He sees all his goings. There is no darkness nor thick gloom, where the workers of iniquity may hide themselves. For he doesn't need to consider a man further, that he should go before God in judgment. He breaks mighty men in pieces in ways past finding out, and sets others in their place. Therefore he takes knowledge of their works. He overturns them in the night, so that they are destroyed. He strikes them as wicked men in the open sight of others, because they turned away from following him, and wouldn't pay attention to any of his ways. So that they caused the cry of the poor to come to him. He heard the cry of the afflicted. When he gives quietness, who then can condemn? When he hides his face, who then can see him? He is over a nation or a man alike, that the godless man may not reign, that there be no one to ensnare the people. For has any said to God, I am guilty, but I will not offend any more? Teach me that which I don't see. If I have done iniquity, I will do it no more. Shall his recompense be as you desire, that you refuse it? For you must choose, and not I. Therefore speak what you know. Men of understanding will tell me, yes, wise man who hears me, yes, every wise man who hears me. Job speaks without knowledge, his words are without wisdom. I wish that Job were tried to the end, because of his answering like wicked men. For he adds rebellion to his sin. He claps his hands among us and multiplies his words against God. Oh. Okay. Hey, Crystal Quick. How are you doing? Yeah, I'm enjoying Job. It's good. I've read it a bunch of times, and I felt like it's interesting because I've been wanting to read it again, and I started reading it a while ago, but I started this annual or yearly reading plan, and it just happens to start in Job, so I'm kind of glad because I was wanting to read it anyway. But yeah, it's a great book. I like it, but it's also has a lot of things that are hard to read. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out again who this Elihu is and what his motivations are. I don't think he's perfect though at all. Like he has a lot of the same attributes that the other three friends do. Like part of it sounds like he's accusing Job, and that's not accurate because we know that Job didn't do anything to deserve what he got. So it's kind of weird. Keep me company today, nice. But yeah, I don't see a lot wrong with what he said in this chapter. I agree with a lot of what he said, except that I think like I said before, his presentation and maybe his heart is a little bit off. Like his motivation, I feel like, is maybe not quite right. But he definitely sounds better than the other three friends. His judgments aren't quite as rash and crazy, but I don't know. I still have my doubts about what his goal is with sharing this speech here. But he says a lot of things that I think God actually sort of echoes in his rebuttal in the end of the book, which I haven't read in a while, so we'll see. But I think God says some of the same stuff like this here. I think that's fairly accurate. And actually, this is probably my favorite thing yet that I've heard any of the 3 or 4 friends say. I think this is cool. I've actually thought of this a lot. Like a lot of people think that God created the world and then he kind of stepped back and just let things kind of go. And then a lot of people also think that, the world is self-sustaining and will just last as long as it, for billions of years or whatever. I don't agree. Like I've always had this more of a viewpoint that falls in line with this. I believe that God is actively sustaining the world. And I agree with Elihu that if he gathered to himself his spirit and his breath, that all flesh would perish together and man would turn again to dust. I think that there's another verse somewhere, I don't remember where it is, but I think it says something like God sustains. I don't know if I can find that. I wanted to ask which part of the U.S. I'm on the West Coast. How about you? Where are you from? If you want to share, let's see. Oh yeah, I think this is the one. Colossians 1:17. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. And then also Acts 17:28. For in him we live and move and exist, as even some of your own poets have said, for we also are his children. I'm in Singapore at the moment. It's a good verse from Colossians, yeah. Are you a religious person, or you've just studied the Bible in the past, or let's see. Yeah, 1 Corinthians 8:6. Yet for us there is but one God, the Father, from whom are all things, and we exist for him, and one Lord Jesus Christ, by whom are all things, and we exist through him. But yeah, I actually believe that if I feel like he's kind of holding the world up, but he's also, I honestly think that he's actually, in a scientific manner, if you want to put it this way, I think he's basically that glue that holds the atoms together. And otherwise, like if he just like let go, it would all just disperse into nothingness. I think he is actively maintaining the order that we see. I studied the Bible in the past, very open-minded to learning, reading more, went to church for a couple of years. Cool. So how's life in Singapore? Are you from Singapore, or are you just traveling or something? Let's see. I'm not a teacher or pastor or anything like that, but if something I read kind of piques my interest, then I kind of look through it and talk about it, and I'm kind of feeling like that today, so that's why I'm looking through this a bit, but I don't actually study this in advance of the stream, so I don't have extra preparation or knowledge of it. I'm just reading it as I go and seeing if there's any reactions. I'm from Singapore, and I split my time across UK, Singapore, and Australia. Ah, cool. Nice. Always good to read and learn more. Yeah. For me, the Bible is actually like, I consider it spiritual food. I can't really live without it. It's my sustenance. And the way I know that, like, those aren't just words for me. Like, if I don't read, then I can actually feel my soul suffering and kind of losing out. And I haven't been reading very regularly over the last year or two. And that's why I've been wanting to get back into it, because my life was actually better when I was reading it. Not that like everything went well, but I felt stronger and able to face difficulties, and just, I don't know. Life is a lot better for me when I'm devoted to doing this, so that's why I'm back in it. Worked in the west coast of the U.S. for a year. Oh, cool. Sounds like you've traveled a lot. I've traveled a little bit, but not a lot. Not a ton. And I feel like my traveling days are over because I'm pretty poor. I don't have money to travel, so I really enjoy it though. Let's see. I try to meditate every single day, and when I don't, I do feel strange and slightly off. Yeah. I think people that understand that we have a spirit and a soul, and just, we're not just chemicals and impulses and body and flesh. I think those people really are onto something, and I encourage everyone to pursue those kind of things. Of course, I believe in Christianity and stuff, but everybody has their different path and whatever. I pray that everyone will find Jesus because of what he offers to mankind. But how did you come across Bolt Plus, by the way? I'm one of those people that like investigates every platform, so I'm always looking for new platforms. I'm actually streaming on a lot of different platforms, so I multi-stream. I've been streaming for about 4 years, and I used to just stream on one platform, but then I started realizing that it's just better and more fun for me to do it in several places, because I don't typically get a lot of viewers. Like, if I get one person chatting in a stream, that's big for me. Like, I never get like 10 or 100 or whatever people. So if I'm only on one platform, then it's like even less. So so if I want to have any interactions, I kind of have to multi-stream just to, have more chance of somebody finding me or whatever. So yeah, I think I'm on 11 platforms today. Believe it or not. But yeah, I don't really like this verse here. Job speaks without knowledge. His words are without wisdom. That's why I think that this guy, Elihu, is not 100%. He doesn't have 100% the right attitude in his approaching Job. Like, I don't think his intentions are 100% pure, nor are they totally accurate. Um, they're too black and white. There's too much hyperbole in his words. He's just like, he could say, okay, Job, I understand your suffering, but you said a few things that kind of bugged me, and I want to encourage you to think this way instead. Like, instead of focusing on your troubles, realize that, there's a bigger world out there, and God has a plan in spite of this stuff. And I know it seems like he's against you right now, but I know that that's not true, and I just want to comfort you and just show you that there's probably a reason for this stuff you're going through. I mean, he could have said stuff like that, but no, he's like, Job speaks without knowledge. His words are without wisdom. It's just like so harsh and so, it's not even true, really. So yeah, I just feel like these guys just have no tact, no compassion, I don't think they have wisdom, honestly. If they had wisdom, they would, because part of wisdom is knowing how to appropriately respond to a situation. Just because you know stuff doesn't make you wise. Wisdom is like knowing stuff and dealing it out appropriately, depending on the situation. You don't just like try to impress people with speeches. I find this strange, but anyway, so all that's left in today's reading is John chapter 2. So we're going to go through that, and then I will be done for the day. So I don't watch chat, just so you know, when I'm reading. So if anybody writes something, I'll catch up after I'm done with the chapter. So here we go with John chapter 2. The third day there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee. Jesus' mother was there. Jesus also was invited with his disciples to the wedding. When the wine ran out, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no wine." Jesus said to her, "Woman, what does that have to do with you and me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Whatever he says to you, do it." Now there were 6 water pots of stone set there after the Jews' way of purifying, containing 2 or 3 metrites. I've never heard of that. Apiece. Jesus said to them, "Fill the water pots with water." So they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the ruler of the feast." So they took it. When the ruler of the feast tasted the water, now become wine, and didn't know where it came from, but the servants who had drawn the water knew, the ruler of the feast called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and when the guests have drunk freely, then that which is worse. You have kept the good wine until now." This beginning of his signs Jesus did in Cana of Galilee and revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. After this, he went down to Capernaum, he and his mother, his brothers, and his disciples, and they stayed there a few days. The Passover of the Jews was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. He found in the temple those who sold oxen, sheep, and doves, and the changers of money sitting. He made a whip of cords and threw all out of the temple, both the sheep and the oxen, and he poured out the changers' money and overthrew their tables. To those who sold the doves, he said, "Take these things out of here. Don't make my Father's house a marketplace." His disciples remembered that it was written, "Zeal for your house will eat me up." Psalm 69:9. The Jews therefore answered him, "What sign do you show us, seeing that you do these things?" Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." The Jews therefore said, "It took 46 years to build this temple. Will you raise it up in 3 days?" But he spoke of the temple of his body. When therefore he was raised from the dead, his disciples remembered that he said this, and they believed the scripture and the word which Jesus had said. Now when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover during the feast, many believed in his name, observing his signs which he did. But Jesus didn't entrust himself to them, because he knew everyone, and because he didn't need anyone need for anyone to testify concerning man, for he himself knew what was in man. Let's see. I don't have a lot to say about this, but there was something that I saw that I thought was strange. Or not strange, but surprising. Oh yeah. Verse 17, his disciples remembered that it was written, zeal for your house will eat me up. It's funny because most translations render that consume me. But it means the same thing. It's just funny. That's a very contemporary language. It's funny sounding. I think, unfortunately, some of this stuff is about making enough changes to it so that it is basically under a different copyright than other Bibles, and I've mentioned that before. I think the people that made this translation realized they had to change a certain amount of words just so that they didn't break the copyright of other existing translations. And that's frustrating to me because that's basically just change for change's sake instead of like it's super frustrating to me. All the Bibles have to be different. Like some people are worried that the Bible has been corrupted because there's so many different translations. But in reality, they have to be different because if they're the same text, like all the words are the same, then they can't produce copies of it and claim that it's different than the others. So, and also the ones that already exist would potentially sue them or something because you just took the work that we did and gave it a different name, kind of a thing. It's like plagiarism. But in my opinion, there should be no issues like that with the Bible. Like I feel like the Bible should be treated differently than other documents because nobody wrote it. I mean, like nobody that's producing these Bibles in modern times wrote the Bible. They're just translating it. So I feel like the Bible should be in public domain, no matter how you translate it. In my opinion, I feel like that should be a new law that's made. Like that would be like saying, here's a great example: Lord of the Rings, super famous book, and you translate it into Indonesian or something, and then you claim that it's yours because you translated it. That's stupid. That doesn't even make any sense. Like, obviously, whoever published it originally or the Tolkien family are the ones that own the text, and you'd have to ask permission from them. And like 100 years after, or 95 years, it's public domain anyway. And the Bible was written over 2,000 years ago. So who has the right to like translate it and claim that it's theirs? That's foolishness. It's stupid. Never thought of it that way. It's a good analogy. Just imagine translating the tomes of Lord of the Rings into Indonesian. Yeah, it's just it's messed up because the Bible is a book that's meant to be accessible to all people, and for publishing companies to claim ownership over the text is absolutely stupid, in my opinion. I think the nuances of the original text will be lost in translation. Yeah, there's always some loss. Like you can generally get most of the meaning through, but there's especially poetry, like, if something rhymes and has good meter in one language and you translate it, all of that is going to be lost, obviously. Publishing companies should lay copyright claims to religious texts. That's weird. Yeah, I don't think it's right. I wonder if anyone's even made that argument that I just made. That just came to me right just then. I don't know if that's ever been said, but it really should be. I think that all of the companies that do these translations should be forced to release their text for free. I don't think that I understand that they have to charge if they print a Bible and sell it in a store, but to actually say that people can't use the text. Like I can't read large portions on the Bible of my stream, on my stream, or in a church even. You can't. It's against the law to read over a certain amount of the Bible in a church. I don't know if you knew that, but that's fact. You can't read over a certain percentage of a book of the Bible during a church service unless you're doing a bunch of other things in addition. And there's just a bunch of limitations from the publishers. It's dumb. I can't stand it. Anyway, the reason I chose this translation is because it was released in the public domain, so I can read the entire Bible on my stream and not get in trouble. But if I chose one of the major translations like NIV, NASB, ESV, and so on, I could actually, there's a decent chance that a publisher would do a copyright claim on YouTube and tell me to mute the content or take it down. I mean, maybe they wouldn't, but legally they could do that. And that's stupid. I think it's the dumbest thing ever. So that's why I chose this translation, because it's public domain. Yeah, it's totally silly. It's the dumbest thing. I can't stand it. Makes me mad. But because my favorite translation is the New American Standard. I also like English Standard, which is ESV. Those two are my favorites, but I can't use those because they're made by they have a copyright on them. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, that's my beef. I'll probably say that a bunch more times. But I can't say that I love this translation. It's had a few weird things where it's hard to understand and the wording isn't great, but it's okay. I don't think it's terrible. It's just not my favorite. So anyway, I'm probably going to head out. I try to keep these streams pretty short because I read 5 days a week, so I can't do 3-hour streams every day. So, but I might eventually. I actually used to be a variety streamer. Did a bunch of things. Like I did gaming. I did arts and crafts. I did IRL hiking streams. Lots of different stuff. But lately I've just been doing the Bible thing. And since I'm streaming 5 days a week with the Bible thing, it doesn't really, I don't feel like motivated to do that other stuff as much. But I don't know. I might eventually do some of it. I've been wanting to do bookbinding again. I used to do that on stream. Oh, I also used to play piano on stream also. Lots of different stuff. But anyway, for now, I'm just going to do the Bible thing. And I know it's not going to get me any followers and stuff. And I've never cared about that. So I figure if I don't even care about that, I may as well just do what I want to do. And, if anybody comes by and is blessed by the word, then great. If not, then I'm still doing my Bible reading and get to hang out with a few people here and there. So that's great. But yeah, I think I'm going to head out. So thanks for keeping me company for a bit, and I will see you around.